It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hey, Bissy.
Excellent morning.
How you doing? I love
the
brand
new
week.
And a new looks.
Yeah.
New looks.
Yeah.
Bissy?
It's my husband's birthday
Yup.
today.
Yes, it is.
Happy birthday, Mr. Uche Ugbo. You have been a wonderful and amazing, in fact, the sweetest husband in the history of husbands. Thank you so much for loving me. I pray that God blesses you, God increases you. Everything your hand touches turns to gold.
Yes,
because I'm there to spend the gold. Happy birthday, darling. I love you.
I saw his pictures yesterday.
Birthday.
And I know you're flooding
I'm
me today.
loading
Don't
more
worry. We'll help
today.
you
My
post some.
timeline is dedicated to my husband.
Yesterday, I saw this bad dad. Like, hey,
Jesus.
Jesus.
Do you know? No, let me tell you something about that Jesus. Do you know we didn't know anything was written on it till we saw the picture?
Are you for real?
He was upset.
You wore the dress?
Yes.
You wore the
Yeah,
dress?
we didn't. I didn't even see it when I was
you
helping him.
didn't pick it out.
Only for us to see the picture, and we saw. He was like,
Yeah.
"Who does that?"
You
I say,
is
"You're son of God."
ambassadoring Jesus anyhow, whether he likes it or not.
That's good.
Celebrate him.
Thank you so
anyone
much.
who knows Mr. Uche Ugbo would know that God has been faithful, and so my prayer is that God will continue to remain faithful and use him to bless more.
I didn't even know his
generations.
first name is Uche.
Yeah.
I'm just used to hearing
Mr. Ugbo, Mr. Ugbo.
Yeah, his first name
nice.
is Uche.
It is.
How you doing
Yes,
today?
I'm good. It's a very, very packed week.
Oh, fantastic.
So on Saturday, we'll be having the confidence webinar 2, and this time I decided to do it at 2 p.m. because last time was 3 hours from 6 p.m. It was till 9 p.m. People were saying, my children want to sleep, and they were still there. They're like, okay, I just have a question. Let's get to the question and answer session. So this time I want to do it in the afternoon so that it won't conflict with family activities that people might have. And suddenly...
You had the second one?
No, we're doing the second one this Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Someone reached out to me from the last session. She actually saw my details from your page. 2 people actually, and they're in the UK. And they paid. I had to go and quickly do pay stack receipts and all of that. Like, okay, let's collect this money. We need to start collecting pounds, you know.
So nice.
And
I'm joining this one.
Yeah, I'm also experimenting on my natural hair products.
Yeah.
So you people are on the journey. There's no need.
No, there's no knowledge that is wasted.
Yeah,
it doesn't
true.
matter. Yeah, I'm
I
joining.
gotta
Why
join this
not?
Saturday.
I'm
Because
doing
it
that kind of
conflicts with my
thing.
school.
Yeah,
I'm on Zoom from like 8 a.m. all the way to 6 p.m. Like,
Saturday.
it's frustrating. So that's why I couldn't come in. But hopefully...
What is good? You're getting coached.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
what's
You
the
know,
results?
I am getting lessons from lecturer. You know, when you start one, others start coming, and you now realize that God just puts
the
everything
teacher-
together.
When the student is ready, teachers would appear.
Yeah.
Teachers are always
That's
everywhere. It's the student. When the student gets ready, then you now see teaching. Everybody's
Everybody's
teaching.
ready
teaching.
to take
I'm
on.
wondering, wow, all this knowledge is available, and I'm just there. It's exciting. Okay, let's
Count
go
down
on.
to 40.
Yes, so you see, this party thing. There's no party. So the only party is going to be online, or Instagram party. So we started the Instagram party.
We know agree.
There's no party.
No.
They've not started doing
Don't worry,
party.
she's not telling you. She's telling them.
Okay, no, there's no.
Them.
Yes,
There's no
party.
party.
There's no party.
Us.
But
will
we
do
have something
within
now.
the limits.
I don't understand.
The pastor will come and pray. We will
Okay.
eat and prophesy.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right, we're going to start with the punch. Crisis looms as COVID-19 cases outnumber bed spaces in Lagos, and actually in states generally. Fraudster fleeces Nigerians on Facebook with Pomo scheme. I can't open church and endanger people's lives, says Bakare. Bureaucracy hindering probe of Ajimobi's government, says Makende's aide. Ondo varsity lecturer slumps and dies. Sanwo-Olu presents staff of office to Lawal at 15th Oniru. And contributory pension assets rose by 359 billion naira in 4 months. Dad will run for 2023 presidency, says Atiku's son. Interesting. Okay, let's start with the major headline. This issue of bed spaces. What's going on?
Okay, so let me quickly get the details. So the federal government is saying that the Federal Ministry of Health is saying that we have over 12,200 33 cases already, and we just have about 6,994 bed spaces across the country. Though they are saying that we have majority of the people who are actually needing more of the states needing more of the bed spaces are Kano and Lagos states, but other states they've not even reached their limit yet. But so they are saying that they are likely going to consider home treatment for COVID-19 patients, though if you have underlying ailments, you are not allowed to have the home treatments. Right. If you have your family members who have underlying ailments, you're not allowed to have that. But the NMA is saying that you can't have COVID-19 patients being treated at home. Right. That is going to negate the emergency of the whole thing.
All right.
And
I was going to move on to other stories. They are Pastor Tunde Bakare.
Pastor Tunde Bakare of Lateran delivered a message on Saturday, posted on YouTube, titled, You are allowed to dream again. And he spoke against churches and religious leaders generally, clerics, Muslims, whatever, that are pressuring the government to open up the churches, that the church of God isn't closed. Buildings are closed, but the church is marching on, that no human being can close the church of God, and that we're going to be piling calamity upon calamity by gathering people together prematurely. I agree. That he's not going to put his life in danger.
The churches are in an enclosed space. All of us are breathing the same air.
Yes.
And then, is it going to be circulating?
Are you going to be using the masks inside?
Even if we use the mask, are we not breathing the same air? We're inside an enclosed.
So the children will not be there, the elderly will not be there. Who will not be in church?
Exactly. Who will take care of the elders?
It's a different topic. In fact, we're supposed to make it a hot topic.
We are supposed to make it a hot topic.
We'll discuss it this week sometime. Moving on to the nation, Obaseki Oshomole puts presidency in dilemma. Lawan, we passed Buhari's $5.5 billion loan request to save 20 million jobs. And up here we have bureaucracy delaying Ajimobi's trial, says Makinde. Over 4,000 megawatts of 8,000 megawatts wasting, says Gencos. Oba Oniru takes office, promises fairness. Churches reopen in Abuja, Oshu, and Kwara. Okay, let's start with the National Assembly saying that they've approved 5.5 billion.
Yes, so the Senate President Ahmed Lawan has said that they passed 513 billion loan request of the president, and it's not frivolous. It's actually going to be saving about 20 million jobs. He's also saying that they were able to get loans that the interest is just like 1%, which they will service over 10 to 20 years, which is very favorable. And they have to carry out infrastructural projects with this loan. So it's not like they are wasting money. They have a committee that's actually paying attention to all the detail to see if we need that. There was another loan of 1-point-something billion that the president also requested for that wasn't signed because they couldn't, get the right justification for that loan. So they are taking their time in giving out this loan.
So two quick stories. The Gencos, that's the generating companies, have come out to say that due to the lack of capacity of our national grid, that's transmission, we are losing about 4,159 megawatts out of what is being generated. So that we have power, but we can't transmit it due to the constraints of the national grid. And I believe that we should definitely look into it because we need more power to boost production. Then politics in Edo State, they are gone to the president and the... okay, so we don't know. We're waiting to see if there'll be direct or indirect primaries within APC in Edo State going towards the election in September 19, and we're hoping to see a resolution that will put the Edo citizens forward.
Okay, moving on now to Vanguard. Big trouble as more Nigerians sink deeper into poverty. COVID-19 patients arrested in Akure market. Outrage greets Miyati Allah's Nigeria belongs to Fulani's comment. IPOB waging war against Nigeria and presidency. Edo, more mudslinging as APC chieftain blast of Shemole. PPPRA backtracks, says marketers can't fix fuel price. Buhari's 1 year in office, border closure has reduced crime rate. COVID-19, editors urge federal government to inject money into the media industry. Let's start with the major headline, because I read that story and I was worried because they're telling us that our population to GDP ratio is going to further sink us into that socioeconomic downturn for Nigerians, and more people are going to go into the poverty line.
3.5% will be growing at the rate of 3.5, and we're shrinking at the rate of 4.4. So we're growing faster, and our economy is shrinking at the same time. Right, yeah. So there's no way we won't have gloomy days ahead.
Was there any solution proposed, or just?
Well, it's just we're just reporting exactly what the experts are saying concerning the contraction that is expected.
The story of the woman who was caught who ran away from the isolation center. So this particular woman had the COVID-19 and was being treated at the isolation center in Imo State, but then she ran away and ran to Akure to be selling second-hand clothes in one very popular market there, Ojaoba market. So she was picked up. I think they found out that she ran away and she was picked up. She's been taken back, and they're asking everyone who's had contact with her to submit themselves for testing. They are also trying to trace about 160 people who had contact with the 2 COVID-19 patients in the state at the same time. So if you know that you have anybody around, you just submit yourself for testing.
Okay, so the Honorable Minister,
I want to take the IPOP story. Okay, so the presidency spokesperson, senior special assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, Malam Gabashew, spoke up concerning IPOP, saying that they are using Christianity to wage war against Nigeria. He's drawing the attention that they are mostly misleading campaign managed by this group, and they stand against it. And the saying that whatever IPOP is saying they're attacking Christians isn't true, and it's just trying to divide the country. And I think that we should all listen to each other and make sure that we're putting the interests of Nigeria forward as opposed to our own individual interests.
I was going to mention the Honorable Minister of Culture and Information, who was saying that the border closure actually was beyond economic benefits to Nigeria, was more of security, because we have less bandits, means that smuggling coming in through the borders, and we have less ammunition or smuggling of that into our country. So right now, kidnapping has reduced, armed robbery has reduced.
Has it?
According to the reports we have from our security agencies, it has reduced because the borders have been closed. So it was just beyond the economic benefits.
That is scaring them. I think it's the COVID-19 that is actually scaring them.
Okay, thank you, because I know you've done your own data analysis and you provide your reports. Moving on to Daily Sun. Can Ohaneze and Ifenifere Middle Belt Forum challenge Miyetti Allah? You don't own Nigeria, they tell Northern Group. COVID-19, trouble not yet over, says Pope. Fresh crisis loom in APC over Edo Primary. I'll make Iruland better, says New Oniru. All right, so let's start with the major headline. Miyetti Allah.
Yes, so Alhaji Abdullahi Bodejo, that's the national president of the Miyetti Allah Association, has said, according to the story, that Nigeria belongs to the Fulani ethnic group, and they are rolling out about 100,000 vigilantes that they are going to be spreading across all the states. So the Christian Association of Nigeria is speaking up it. So the Christian Association of Nigeria is speaking up against it. Afenifere is speaking up against it. IPOB, MASOB, all those ethnic organizations are speaking up, saying that this is actually what causes, friction for a particular ethnic group to think or to boldly say that they have power over every other ethnic group, is because they have like a sponsor. It's because like they have like a sponsor in the federal government, and they're not expecting the federal government to say anything about it, because they are always making excuses for this particular group. According to
what Miyetti Allah says, then the federal government should be the one spearheading this statement. And
I don't know the context in which this was said, but the point is that these are the kind of statements that actually hit up the polity, and we need to be really careful.
From whichever quarter is coming from.
It doesn't make any sense.
For and against, let's put the interest of Nigeria forward.
So we're
backing too many things right now.
The former commissioner of agreed Lagos State has been sworn in as the new...
Congratulations.
Congratulations to him. He's now an Oba. His colleagues were over there at the weekend as he was... newly, and was presented the staff of office, and congratulations to him. Imagine 1 second you're commissioner, next second you're an Oba.
It depends on you, what your goals
destiny, eh? Okay, moving on to the Nigerian Tribune. Unfortunately, we can't take that. Oh, that picture story is very, very disturbing. Refuse in Akobe Crescent, Surulere, Lagos. Oh. I don't think our governor has seen this, and I hope he can see it. This cannot be Lagos. I'm sure it's not Lagos State. It can't be. Lagos.
They put the address there.
They made a mistake. It can't be Lagos.
Okay, so governor, we know you've seen Tribune, and you will do something about it.
I can almost vouch it's not Lagos.
Because my area is very clean. Like I see a lot of people working on a daily basis.
Let's go on a break. Unfortunately, that's all we can take. Surulere, that cannot be Lagos. Let's go on a break.
Is going to talk about it.
I hope Gbajami Amila's former governor of Lagos State, Fashola, that's his constituency.
Yeah,
that's not,
he can't allow this. Yeah,
that's not Lagos.
He won't allow it.
Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, the increased cases of sexual violence against women have generated a national debate as to what sanctions would be deterrent enough to stop this menace. However, the lawmakers voted against castration of rapists as an amendment to the motion calling for stiffer penalties against persons found guilty of rape. Now, what are your general thoughts of this? Because the Honorable Minister says is in favor of castration, although the National Assembly are saying castration might not be possible because in the case of a woman raping a man, how would you have a commensurate penalty for that? So that's the debate going on. But some are saying because majority of those who engage in rape, who are raping is a man, that's why castration is important as a deterrent, not so much as a measure to actually carry out, but should stop people from carrying it out. Now, what are your own general thoughts? We'd like to join this debate and hear your thoughts on it. You can call us on 070-806-68014. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTV so we can read your tweets. Right, BC, you want to go?
We are going about this the wrong way again, putting the cart before the horse. What I expect from the lawmakers is to first of all sit down with psychologists and therapists and medical doctors and grade these cases of rape. I don't expect them to have a blanket castration, a blanket punishment, because there are different degrees of rape. We need to understand the degrees so that we don't go and punish somebody for an offense that is not commensurate. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So have a sit down on a table, dialogue, find out causes. I've been reading up about rape. I've been reading up the types of rape, the motives behind rape, this and that. These are some of the conversations I expect our lawmakers to make with professionals. Then you now come out and give us a list of, okay, this is first degree rape, this second degree, this third degree, this fourth degree, no matter the degrees. Now, these are the punishments that are commensurate to the degrees, because there are people who, they are just first-time offender, he could have been drunk and he did it. We have women who lie on men just because they want to punish them, that they raped. No, so how do you separate the punishments?
Because I mean, I like that you brought that up, because, I mean, National Assembly last week, somebody was saying, you see, we agree that they need stiffer pensions, but, you know, we have to also talk to our girls, the way they are dressed. So if you are taking that mentality into the National Assembly, that obviously is inadequate. So what we need are professionals who you call and sit down to then even give you proper information. Based on that information, you now use to determine the kind of laws we need. Well, what are your thoughts on this? Because everybody's talking about it.
Everybody's talking about it because it is on the front burner, and I'm so excited. There's something going on worldwide right now. The protest for Black Lives, and then here we are speaking up concerning rape. This is something 7 years I've been on the show, we've been talking about it, but not at this, everywhere you go online, people are tweeting their experience. People are not ashamed to speak up anymore. So fantastic. Concerning the law, the agreement, they voted against castration. My thought was, none of them have put themselves in the shoes of being the one abused. Because at the end of the day, when we are making a law that we know cannot affect us, while our response is different. When we're making a law based on what has affected us, maybe if your child has been raped, or you know someone who's been raped, or you've been in that kind of, the average Nigerian, they say 9 out of 10 women have actually been abused one way or the other. If we have more women in the National Assembly who've experienced this kind of thing, their response will be different. However, I don't want an emotional law. I want a fact-based law. Yeah. And we can't use emotions to judge this, as we on the outside are all saying, no, let's do castration. No. Let us not do castration because we feel that would be a commensurate punishment. Let's do castration if, after enough research has been done, it is backed up to say this would be a strong deterrent. That's one. Number two, there are many other punishments that can be done. There is the posture and the things I feel they should legislate upon is the conditions for proving rape. Everyone has said over and over again that the conditions for proving rape makes it tough for you to prove rape. In actual fact, if you've been raped in this country, you rarely can prove if you have not washed up. So can we revisit, why does it have to be that tough to prove that you've been raped? Can we change the laws that would support and give
I think it's a lot, okay? I think it's more because abroad,
they have a policy that would ensure that every police station, from the legal perspective, has a rape kit. You can have a policy that every police station has a representative, someone that can be a domestic sexual abuse, they call them domestic and sexual abuse experts there in every police station. Those are legislative things that we can do to prevent these things from happening, because you know that if we can, if there's a show of every office, every police station I go to, I will get justice. People will not want to carry out this action, but people realize that you can fall through the cracks. Let us create a stiffer law that the state can prosecute even when families drop the case.
Okay.
As in those are the areas for me I feel, because we know police say that family drop cases, they settle out of court. Police can decide that the state has a right to prosecute this case even when you drop.
Okay, in addition to that, okay, I'll come to that. I have a call and hold it for a while. Good morning, are you there?
Good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Okay. I am a victim.
We can't hear you.
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I just want to say I'm a victim of rape.
Oh,
okay.
It's a very bad thing. It's a very bad thing. It happened 14 years ago. I went to a birthday party, and I was still a virgin. I was deflowered. I was raped. I was pregnant too. So, and I didn't know I was pregnant now. No, I didn't, what I have not done before. It was around 6 months I got to discover that I was pregnant. When the baby started moving in my stomach. So, rape is a very bad thing. My daughter is 14 years now, but you know, the most annoying part is when your voice is not being heard. When you're talking, people not believing you. It's a sad thing.
Kemi, did you know you're a rapist?
At the end of the day, he came, he showed up. He showed up. I didn't know what pushed him, so he showed up. He came. Then he discovered with his family that I was pregnant. I think I should be around 8 months then. So he showed up.
And has he taken
But what do I do?
responsibility?
A baby is involved. And you know these are Yoruba citizens. They won't want you to talk. And your child, you want to give a bad name to your child, this and that.
So how have you been after that? Because have you been able to move on with your life after that incident, even with the child? Have you been able to remarry, move on to have your own children, or have more children?
The word move on. You see, this thing, the trauma and everything, it's not easy to move on. It's not just easy to move on. I hear the word move on like it's very simple and easy. Yes, I have remarried. So I'm married now with a daughter again. So I think about the problem is your husband suffers it all. Your husband of the survivor or the victims, they go through a lot because at times when you go back to what you've experienced, you just discover that you're not yourself,
right? And
it's not your fault. So.
Right. Thank you very much, Kemi, for sharing your story. I mean, the scars are always going to be there. And
if you have not experienced, I don't want the law to be from emotion, but the lawmakers' arguments, when I watched, it was, you hear things that you make you understand that they don't understand what people that have gone through this go through. They don't understand the innocence of
that was stolen.
That has been stolen, the trauma that is lifelong. You don't understand it. So the law is based on, okay, they say we should do something, so that we will do something. And that's why I want us to have more women involved in this lawmaking, because we know this thing happens. Of course, some men get abused, but this is more of a woman's problem.
You know, I spoke to a lady last week, and I told her that I asked her for her permission to come on the show. She's still thinking about it, but it's been nice to have her. She's actually a product of rape. Her mother was raped, and
survivor.
by a cousin. And then they gave birth to her. She was a product.
This woman now has a 14-year-old daughter.
So all her life, her mother almost resented her all through her life. Her mother just felt that she was a problem, she was the cause of her entire problems, because her mother ended up remarrying, had more children, but still, her mother still blamed her for all, because the man didn't stay, they had issues.
She's the living memory of
her
what
grandmother,
happened to
the
her.
entire family almost blamed her for everything they went through. Even her, it took her a long time. And it took her a long time. And eventually she confronted the man, and obviously the man wasn't interested. Even till now, the man is actually, according to her, is the politician today that we know.
Hey,
but she won't mention the name.
Morayo, did you hear, did you see the case on social media of a 2-year-old that was actually being molested by an elderly man, and the mother ended up beating the child, accusing the child, insulting, calling the child a prostitute, a 2-year-old. So what I think we need to start doing is from the ground up. We need to start sensitizing these rural women who all of these things happen in their before and they can't do anything. They feel helpless and they feel it's a man's world. There's nothing that can be done. We need to start sensitizing them. We need to create agencies where you have a rape case, you go there, because we've had cases of police saying that if you don't drop something, they won't take up the case.
I'll come to that issue. Well, let me take this call. Good morning. Are you there?
I'm there.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead. You're live.
It is saddening and disheartening hearing this every time that people keep doing this despite the law put in place to curtail this act. But all I'll say is that we shouldn't be that emotional, as said by one of you over there, because there are situations whereby, this olosho of the thing, girls do go to guys on the agreement that you pay me this also amount on getting there. Maybe the guy was not able to fulfill his promise on his part. Then at the end of the day, the lady can set such a guy in form of a rape. And at the end of the day, if we did not look at it critically, that person will be castrated, as you have said. So we should not be too emotional and look at it and fashion a way of getting all these culprits into book. So I submit.
Totally, you're very correct. So that we don't end up castrating the wrong people.
I'm telling
proper
you,
investigation must take place. So that's why we need to take out the emotions and ensure that we have
our laws should be
laws
on ground, but our laws should encourage, should provide the facilities. Because you speak with police officers. A documentary done by Bukola Sanyomimo carried the fact that she went to meet police officers and all of that, and the police people, under guys, had to say that we didn't have facility, we don't have these things, we don't have fuel.
Yeah. So instead of police, that was what I was going to make before the break. Instead of police, I think every hospital should have that section where once you're raped,
the nearest
place is the primary health care center. Go there, they'll examine you and get all the evidence right for you. Then they'll take you to the police.
That's a fantastic idea that will come when there is like an open hearing and everybody is bringing in a contribution for us to holistically create a framework that will prevent rapes from happening.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up on this. But we understand what the National Assembly and the Ministry of Health are going through, trying to get some kind of a reasoning around this, and we'll continue to support you the best we can. But the truth is that we'd like you to talk to experts, as you said. Let's take the emotions out of it and let's put the facts on the table so that those who actually need these laws can get justice, especially young ladies who have been through this can get justice for what has happened to them. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So another topic caught our attention. Recently, the Ondo State Governor appointed a young lady who's not from Ondo State as a special advisor to the governor on gender, research, and documentation. According to the report, the protest was not based on her lack of qualification, but solely on her not being Yoruba. So the question is, as somebody asked online, what's the difference between racism and tribalism? You can call us on 070-806-6814. You can also tweet us at TVC please hashtag GOTV so we can read your tweets. So we saw this question online and we thought it was something we should discuss because this young lady, she's 26 years old. and I read that she's a family member or close relative to the governor's wife.
In-law.
Okay.
In-law, right? Yeah. So, and then I checked on LinkedIn. I tried to look for her CV because I didn't want to define her based on what I was saying. Oh, she's pretty, she's this. I wanted to know what qualifies her. Oh, yeah, she's beautiful. So, but I went and looked and I couldn't find her profile.
Okay.
Ngozi Ogochi. I mean, I tried to get her profile, but I didn't. I saw an Ngozi Ogochukwu, and the body wasn't her. So I tried to see her CV. I couldn't find her CV just to know exactly what are the qualifications that was considered to put her on that job. But the point is, there's that conversation because abroad they're talking about racism. Here, why are people protesting against engaging her as a special advisor within Ondo State?
Okay,
I mean,
so people will protest for different reasons.
Right.
One being that, let's take for instance, she's not an indigene. Because I believe that if somebody has lived in a place for over 10 years or was born in that place, the person is an indigene. The person has a right to contest for political positions because you're already a part of. This is like...
Is that a law? Is that your own thinking?
No. It's under what you call naturalization. So let's take, for instance, my husband is a Lagosian by birth.
Right.
So he can contest for political positions or he can be appointed tomorrow for anything because he's a Lagosian in as much as he's from Delta. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So if this girl in question is an indigene, probably by birth or by marriage, I would understand that. But if she's not an indigene, it would seem like, are you saying there are no other qualified indigenes to handle this position? So we need to ask all of those questions before even, because most of the protesters are just saying that he's just giving out the position because he's the in-law, he's the whatever they were saying at that time. So what we need to find out, because we've had people in Nigeria who've held different positions where they are not, like Ken Akabweze, the economist, who served in Lagos State for on 2 terms as a commissioner. We've had
even
Akeredolu, who served in, I think he served in Lagos State as well. We've had even like Mohammed's son, who is representing Lagos State, and he's not from Lagos State.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've had that. So if the person is qualified and the person is an indigene, it doesn't really matter if
there are different regions. There's the north, there's the southwest, and there's
there's
always that regional. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you what Nigerians are saying based on that division. So if an Akeredolu's son or a that one is not. That one doesn't count. I'm talking about.
Don't talk about Lagos.
Yes.
We can't talk about Lagos.
Let me pause you for a second. I have a call.
Okay.
Good morning. Are you there?
I'm here, Morayo.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead. Honorable.
Yeah, I just want to refer you back to the former topic on castration of those who are rapists.
Yes.
For me, as an individual, I really support that castration.
Okay.
But like someone mentioned earlier, that it should be category by category of the involvement of the rapist. Because a woman, we've seen situations where we can also say that the wife is being raped by her husband. So in such situations, we cannot just say total castration. Also, we have seen issues even in advanced countries where people have gone to jail only for the lady to come up again to say she lied against the man. And if such individual have been castrated, it's going to be another issue. But we have different grades of castration, and I think that is the area that the National Assembly should look into. And coming to this current topic also, in Lagos State, as we speak today, we have a lawmaker who have been voted in from Oshodi Solo constituency, representing the people of Oshodi Solo, and is from an Igbo land. I think we should go beyond this level of saying that somebody like if the fellow is not residing in Ondo State, I agree with that position. But if he or she is residing in Ondo State, I think he or she have that right to be nominated to be in the executive or even be elected if the people within that constituency or within that state desire him or her.
Thank you so much. Yes, Tapo, you're going to say something before.
So I was going to say that we shouldn't. Lagos is not the template for Nigeria. Lagos is cosmopolitan. Lagos is a state where you would see third-generation Hausa people that are like the great-grandfather can trace their genealogy that I came to Lagos 3 generations ago, and that my family house is in Lagos, my child, the next one, that's different. It is also a different thing. If by virtue of my influence in the society as a foreigner, I was able to gather people and they decide that they want me in a political position, like the case in Lagos where we've had last administration, the State Assembly had someone from Orile was represented by an Igbo person. Now we have from Oshodi, represented by another non-Lagosian. So that is generated by people voting, not political appointments that can go to a citizen. Is that lady the most qualified person in the entire, and you say that there was no better qualified person in Ondo State that has served that government or has served that state in the past? So let's take away sentiments of tribalism or whatever. Let's put equity. There are citizens of that state that are born there and they want to see things grow. They should be given priority. I will feel bad. I blame my president for I'm not happy with the appointments and posture of my president right now because it's tilted. There must be federalism. There must be equity in sharing what you are sharing. You can't take a position that is for an Ondo state and take it outside the state.
That's a valid point.
Except there's no other qualified person.
I like the part you said. I like the fact that I said, is there any qualified person? Because when I read the reports, what it seemed like was that they were worried or they were upset that the governor was sharing the part of the national, or the part of their own cake or their own appointment to an outsider. And that gave me a problem because you're now making it look as though it's based on the work you've done for the party that you must get an appointment, not so much about doing the actual work. So they are looking at as a reward for good. So part of what they said was that what is she doing campaign? Did we see her doing the elections? What investment has she made in this party so far? So in their own mind, it's supposed to give that position. That position is supposed to be some kind of reward for participation. And that's where I have a problem with that. Are we being objective, looking for the right person, this right peg to fit that
the right hole?
The right hole.
Yes, so for me, I wouldn't judge based on that because I do not know what's going on in the States. I don't know if it's for reward or if it's not for reward. But I understand that when it comes to giving political positions, you give positions to people who, aside from the fact that they are qualified, people who can work with you. So it's very possible that he's looked around and he said, in this capacity, I want to work with this person because I believe that I will get something in return. I'll get value for this position with this person. And it's okay. My only problem is she an indigene? If by naturalization she is, then she passes. It's not about whether you speak the language or not. We are trying as much as possible to, give room for one Nigeria.
Is she a taxpayer in Ondo State?
Exactly. She working there.
How many years has she paid taxes in Ondo State?
So those are the things we need to pay attention to. If she ticks all of those boxes, then she has a right to get that position.
What if she doesn't?
Now we see that there's something that's happening. It's either for reward, and people can now really have a rightful protest to fight it. But we need to find out all of these facts.
Joy, good morning. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, ladies. Well done. Thank you so much for your discourse. I want to take you back to your first topic for today.
Go ahead. It's your view. Let it count.
I have a staff that was raped. She was 28, and she was raped, and she didn't even know she was raped. She found out she was pregnant. Sorry. I'm telling you, from that rape incident, she had triplets.
Hey, Jesus Christ.
That is triplets. It is so bad that the kids are 5 years old now. She's still stigmatized, she's traumatized, she's just name it. For the past almost 6 years now, she's been going through that mental state. You can imagine triplets from a rape incident.
This is our God.
She has lost all hope in humanity. She cries every single day.
The trauma.
Every single day. She goes through pain, trauma. She doesn't even want to see any man. She has her family, she has just forgotten about her family. She's on her own. And the grace of God that's keeping her going with those kids.
Thank you, Joy, for sharing that story.
Thank you so much.
See, when you hear this kind of story, it just breaks your heart.
It does.
3 children. So she'll be looking at it. I was talking earlier about somebody. As a reminder, 3.
And we need to learn to forgive this mother. That's the person that shared her story with you. She needs to understand that mother, unless she goes through the process of getting healing or she gets justice, and which is why they say, the campaign in the US saying no justice, no peace. When there's no justice, really, peace is far away from such a person. So the importance of finding a framework to provide justice for even the people in Ondo State are feeling like they don't have justice in this case. How can we vote for a party and then we vote for a person and then a political position is going to an outsider? Okay, so even the party members will say, when we were working for this man, is it that among all of us that worked, none of us are qualified for this job? It's possible. So and if that's the case, then you state it like that. So at the end of the day, we need to be equitable. You are accountable to the citizens that voted you in.
Listen, at the same time, all of us at this same table, we have talked about qualified people should be given the opportunity.
100%.
So if she's qualified,
and
not
that's
just qualified,
if
she's also the kind of person that he can work with
conveniently.
Yeah, because I know some of, I don't know about
I would work with her. She's beautiful.
Wait,
it's not about
I know somebody. I know a state. I wouldn't mention the state. I don't know Ondo, but there's a state that I know that I had somebody who got an appointment there, and he was complaining to my husband that the people he's working with, they have no plan to work at all. Imagine. They don't just sit down and they're collecting. They're not there to do any work for that state. I know that state very, very clearly. Yeah. So maybe this governor has seen that these people, I will give you the position, but you will not work.
You won't do the work.
I need somebody who can work, who I know that you can get, that she's going to be focused on the vision.
Synergy.
Yes.
There's a working synergy.
So this is also the thing. This is also the same thing the president said, that he wants to appoint people that he knows. You cannot be, how many people can one individual know? That's why you choose a relative, somebody that is your in-law.
Our president has been in the state for a long time. He knows quite a bit of people.
At the end of the day, you can't rely on who you know. At the end of the day, you can't rely on who you know. We will follow the templates of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's not, I've heard stories of how our vice president got to meet former Governor Tinubu. It wasn't by relationship of say, I know you. It was that, get me a qualified person. And they recommended, and he fell on Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at that time, who was the lecturer. So I'm saying that when you desire to promote the good of your state, and you don't want to cause rancor within your people, because you need them. Ondo is going into election. You need them. You will now cause a problem. Let them do you, because they do
even
people
the
like
governor
this,
of Kaduna State, he has been very, very detribalized, because a lot of members in his commission, he has a commissioner, Muyiwa Adeke, who is commissioner for information.
Kaduna, Kano, they are cosmopolitan.
These are states, these are governors that have Yoruba, Igbos, and in their cabinets.
There are states where you have, in Lagos, we have community of Hausa people that are community, that they've been there. So if you are in that, if she lived and grew up in the community in Ondo State, or if that's our person, we're on the same page. If that was our person, nobody will protest like this.
Okay,
I'm told that because
Muyiwa Adeke is actually a special advisor on information, not
They may still protest because she doesn't speak the language. You need to understand the mindset of the typical Nigerian. We don't see ourselves as one. If you like, even as an Igbo live in Lagos, they will still tell you are not in Lagos. No, hold on.
I will vote an Igbo person that is.
I
will vote for Igbo person in Lagos if the person is.
You are talking for yourself. A lot of them will still tell you that you are not from this place. Go to your state. Exactly. So we don't really see ourselves as one, and I think this is something that we need to start looking into.
We have to go on a break, unfortunately.
Let's saturate the whole place.
Calm down with the saturation. Please. Don't saturate like that, please. We that we are born and raised, don't saturate anything.
I'm a negotiation by marriage. I'm a negotiation by my mom.
I have people who
I've been here for years.
Both parents are Lagosians. They have been clamoring. The contestants of Lagos State Governor, what's his name? They call a number of them. They are qualified Lagosians.
Yes,
so before we consider your husband as an indigene, before we consider your husband, we will first of all select amongst our people. You see what we're saying?
That's tribalism.
Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
So stay with us. Before we move on to the Let's Talk, Tunde has been holding for a while. Good morning, Tunde.
Morning.
Thanks for joining the show. You wanted to say one or two things concerning our last topic.
Yes,
go ahead, please.
About the issue of the appointment of a non-indigene as
Yes.
special advisor in Ondo State.
Yes.
I think you ladies have to be consistent in your argument. If you are talking in one breath, you're talking of qualification, merit, and at the same time, you are talking of the need, tribalism and all what have you. I think the issue, when it comes to election, if a non-indigene contests election and he wins, okay, he or she wins, it's okay, that's the choice of the people. But when it comes to appointment, the federal character, the constitution is clear on this, that appointment should reflect the complexity of and diversity of the state or of the country, such that no part of the state or the federation is marginalized. So, but I think that moving forward, as a country, I think embassies should be more on merit. And this is an opportunity to also appreciate, what the people of Lagos State, the progress people of Lagos State have made in this regard. There are a lot of people that have been appointed into elective positions that they do not even have any political contribution to the emergence of administration. You can talk of Akeredolu. Akeredolu has no constituency in Lagos State yet. He was appointed based on merit. You're talking of Osinbajo. Osinbajo, from Ogun State, also emerged in Lagos State as Attorney General without any political base. So, but to round up, I will say that why elective position could be based on the choice of the people as much as possible.
Appointments should be. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think we get the point. So appointment, because of an appointment, that's what Tope mentioned earlier. Okay, moving on to our Let's Talk topic. Another topic that's been bothered us is the issue of the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, that's PPPRA, have removed the price of petrol, giving marketers the freedom to fix the price of commodity and sell above the price. Now, what this means is that there's a new development. Marketers now have the freedom to fix the price of commodity. No, actually, that's the old one.
That's the old one.
There's a revised one now, actually, based on today's papers, that they've reversed it, such that they're saying that the marketers don't have the freedom to choose the prices. However, they are going to be the ones to regulate, such that they will guide it and still determine it. However, the marketers still can then play. But it's still a bit confusing. Because 1 second you're saying marketers decide. The next second you're saying, no, we are the one that's still going to have the power. Then we're going to speak to a guest joining us now. He's a partner and a head tax, oil and gas KPMG advisory services, Mr. Wale Ajayi. Good morning, Mr. Wale. Are you there?
Hi, I'm here. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today. So let's get right into it. This limbo that PPPRA have put us in between Friday and today, saying 1 second they're telling us that marketers have the freedom to determine the prices. Now we're getting the papers this morning that that's been reversed. In your view, which is the best option, especially given the fact that Nigerians have been clamoring for complete removal of subsidy?
Thank you so much for that question. First, let's first understand what has happened, and then I can then respond to your question directly. What happened was that in March, the PPRA Executive Secretary released a regulation that basically said that the cap for petroleum, for PMS, which is what we call petrol in Nigeria, has been removed. However, there is a caveat in that regulation that says that PPRA will still have the right to guide and to prescribe what the price will be, and that the marketers and the NNPC have to abide by that. So that is the cause of the confusion. What only happened was that that regulation was only released last week to the general public. So nothing really has changed. What we're seeing is still going to be some sort of a price modulation. whereby PPRA will advise marketers on a monthly basis what the price would be, and the marketers will have to abide by that price. So nothing has really changed.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the best thing is for us to deregulate the price of petrol. We've deregulated aviation price, aviation fuel price, we've deregulated kerosene price. Nothing has happened. So the best thing for us is to deregulate. And if we do that, what then happens is that we're going to be able to remove the subsidy that has been in the system for such a long time. And obviously, that will go a long way, to improving investment in that sector. I mean, currently, if you look at the way petrol is priced or any petroleum product is priced, the major cost component is the cost of crude oil. Currently today, the price of crude oil is about $40, right? And it's about 70% of the cost of that people pay for at the pump price. And so when you look at it critically, that constitutes about 70% of the price. And what that means is that when you take in all the other factors like refining cost, like transportation cost, what that means is that the price of petrol per liter should not actually be more than 80 naira per liter. So what has happened now is that rather than government subsidizing the price of petrol, actually is the consumers that are subsidizing government because the price is much lower than the recommended retail price of 121 naira 50 kobo.
Okay, so let's take, for instance, what happens in, I know diesel is different from the petrol we're talking about now. And when I get into the filling station, I buy in some places lower than in other places. And so far, we've not had issues of we don't have diesel at some point, or marketers are closing the shops and saying go home, or we are increasing the prices. So you buy where you can really afford, depending on the area. Shouldn't that be what we are looking at when it comes to the price of petrol? By allowing the market forces to determine the prices, at some point it will balance and we won't have to pay so much for it.
You're right. That has been the clamor of so many people. The only way we can improve investment and also improve the supply of petrol is for the price to be deregulated. Like you rightly said, I mean, diesel is not regulated, so people can always buy diesel at any time. Yeah. There's been no issue of shortage of diesel. But in Nigeria, because we have regulated the price of petrol, that is the reason why there is smuggling. Because when you look at our neighboring countries, the price at which they pay for petrol is much higher than Nigeria. So it does make sense for Nigerians to take the petrol imported into Nigeria to those places and sell at a higher price. Now, when you look at what the government did with the border closure, right, what that has done is that it has shown us that the daily consumption of petrol that used to be in the range of about 70 million liters per day is now about 40 million. So what that means is that 30 million liters are being sold outside of Nigeria. So if we do not deregulate the price of petrol, we continue to experience shortages, we continue to experience a situation where people are not investing, and we continue to experience a situation where people are smuggling. So the best option available for government today is to deregulate, especially when the price of crude oil is much lower than what it was last year in 2019, when it was an average of $60 per barrel.
Right.
So obviously, we've said the same thing on the show for many years, the importance of deregulation, but we know that there are beneficiaries from the subsidy system. Many people are benefiting from it, and for as long as there are beneficiaries can lobby their way to get what they want, would remain in this quagmire. What do you think the government should do to appease those who are benefiting from subsidy, to let this thing go? How can we address them? Because if we ignore and think we can just buy caviar, just say, no, this is off. Because we see the turnaround. Just from between Friday and today, we have two things from the same company, from the same PPRA agency. What can the government do to appeal to those that are already benefiting from subsidy? One. Number two, how can we avoid putting the burden on the citizens? Because right now, indeed, if we go there, it might drop the price. But if the price goes up, it will go up. So what can we do long-term to avoid the burden on the citizens? And people are saying, let's wait for Dangote refinery and all of us will be happy. Would that not put too much power in one person with a monopoly system to give us any price? Plenty questions, but I know you can answer.
Okay, thank you so much for those questions. I'll try to answer the three questions that you've asked me. I think the very first question you asked is, what can the government do? What can we do? I think one of the biggest challenges we face in Nigeria today is a lack of political will. to effect and to do what is right. Everybody knows what is right, but we have just refused to do it. If we do not deregulate, it's very simple. We continue to experience petrol shortages. It's as simple as that, right? And what government just needs to do, just the same way that we did with diesel and aviation fuel, and heaven did not fall. What government needs to do is to take advantage of the low price of crude oil that we have now and deregulate. Like I've said in one of my answers to the first question, currently, there is no subsidy on the price of petrol. Rather, when you buy petrol at the pump, at the filling station, you're actually subsidizing government, because the price people should be paying should be much lower than what government is currently charging as the recommended retail price of 121 naira 50 kobo. So you and I are actually subsidizing government, right? And so one thing about allowing market forces to determine the price of an item is that that item becomes easily available. There is competition, and the prices will rise and fall based on the dictates of the market. Now, in terms of what is happening with our neighboring countries, it's as simple as that. Government didn't have any choice but to close the border, because people are just taking petrol out of Nigeria to Benin to sell at a price, right? And the only way we can stop that practice is for us to deregulate the price of petrol. Now, with respect to Dangote, Dangote will be a game changer. In the sense that if we have a Nigerian company refining petroleum products, it's going to reduce close to about $10 billion that Nigerians spend to import petrol. And then we can use that foreign exchange that is conserved, for other purposes. And obviously, with a Nigerian company going into refining, what that means also is that government will not have any choice but to deregulate the price.
Right.
Otherwise, it will not be a profitable investment for Dangote. Okay. And what that does is that it's going to bring in new investors into the market, and the price would fall.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have with us the head Tax, Oil and Gas KPMG Advisory, Mr. Wale Ajayi. All right, before the break, he was still answering, but concerning this issue of the refineries, Mr. Wale, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
So if we have so many refineries that was constructed by the government of Nigeria. Now, at the point where the marketers begin to bring in the fuel and then determine the prices, and PPRA still regulates, what would happen to our own refineries? Because we are all now dependent on Dangote's refinery. What do you think would happen to ours? Can it be sold to Dangote or to somebody to revive it? Or do you think it's just going to become moribund?
Thank you so much for that question. Currently there are 4 refineries in Nigeria. And the installed capacity of those refineries is about 445,000 barrels of oil per day. But what do we have? 90% of the petrol that we consumed in Nigeria today is imported. So what that means is that those refineries are not doing anything. As you're aware, we spent so much money to rehabilitate those refineries by way of turnaround maintenance. And currently, what the NNPC is trying to do with those refineries is to try also and rehabilitate them and get third parties to maintain them, so by way of concession. So the best thing we can do is what the NNPC wants to do now. Is just basically transfer the maintenance and the operation of those refineries to private sector. Okay. Private sector can get them done correctly. Right. That's the best we can do until Dangote refinery come on stream in 2021.
All right. Yeah, so with this new policy now, that's the regulation, we're going to just have the PPPRA just advising on a monthly basis, like you rightly mentioned. Do you think it's, what does that advice entail, one? And do you think that agency is necessary right now? Should they just have independent consultants to handle this as a way of COVID-19? We're trying to cut down costs.
Thank you. If you look at the act that set up the PPRA, one of the primary functions really is to help advise government on the prices of petroleum products. And so when they say they're going to be advising, what that actually means is that they're going to be dictating. So if you notice at the beginning of this month, June, they had prescribed that the price of a liter of PMS, which is petrol, is going to be 121 naira 50 kobo. And what that does is that the oil marketers don't really have any choice but to apply that particular price. So it's not just advising, yes, it's basically dictating what the price of PPRA is. And the day they stop being involved in the price of, determining the price of petroleum products, then it questions the relevance of that agency, right? And of course, they can still be involved in monitoring and ensuring that whatever is imported into Nigeria, it stays in Nigeria, but really the relevance will be questioned. So it's not giving a piece of advice, but they're actually dictating. And once they stop giving advice, then that is the end of that particular agency, because the market will determine what the price will be and will determine the demand and supply.
Right.
Oh, so I wanted to ask a quick question concerning modular refineries. So we've heard, I think it was even signed that modular refineries is small to serve small locations. What's the impact of modular refineries in making petroleum products available everywhere?
Well, the whole idea is actually to ensure that supply can be guaranteed easily. Now, the whole essence of modular refineries, these are just small refineries that are prefab, sort of a prefab. You can move from one place to another place, and then they can serve for the local community in those areas. There were so many licenses that were given out then, but currently there are only 2 that are functional. And what we see is that if, as long as the price of PMS or another product is regulated, we're going to have not too much investment in that area. And that is why you only have only 2 that are functional now. So we have to deregulate the price of PMS, just like we've done with other products, and that will make it attractive, for other investors that want to go into modular refinery. But currently, there are about two of them that are functional, out of so many licenses that have been given out.
We have to wrap up now, but is it possible? Do you see us paying below 100 naira per liter in future? As this is, as we hand over to the marketers?
Well, I mean, we have not deregulated, like I've rightly said. What we've done is basically we have just modulated the price. And if you look at the template that PPRA has prepared itself, and you look at the components that make up the price of petrol, what you find out is that crude oil is the biggest component. And even as at now, the price of petrol should be less than 80 naira per liter, based on the current cost of crude oil, right? So do I see price coming down to $80? Yes, I see, if and only if we deregulate. And what that means, of course, is that if the price of crude oil goes up, the price will also go up. But that is very easy for one to manage, because you know that when the price goes up, what you pay for petrol will go up. And what that does is that it's going to reduce smuggling significantly.
Right.
So the only way, we really don't have alternative in this country. We just have to deregulate.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We appreciate your thoughts this morning. We'll be speaking to the head and tax, oil and gas KPMG advisor, Mr. Wale Ajayi. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We have to wrap up, but before I go, I must thank our Group CEO of Mandela. She sent us gifts.
Thank you so much.
They buy your daughter. Thank you so much. Send the ladies of your views.
Thank
really
you
nice
so
gifts.
much.
Thank you very much, madam.
Your Mandela,
yes, she's such a bright person to meet. Very full of energy.
Okay, I'm not met the person.
Yeah, but let's go. Let's wrap up today. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a happy day. Bye for now.